All right, guys. So, Democrat operative slash whistleblower, Miss Frances Haugen, who was a former product manager at Facebook, has been given testimony in Congress today regarding her findings while she was at Facebook. And basically everything that she said is something that really is not a surprise to me whatsoever, right? And it should not be a surprise to any of you guys who knows anything about how social media works and how their algorithms work. Again, if you have not seen the documentary The Social Dilemma, I highly recommend it. But she went on 60 Minutes at first, right, to reveal this information. And then all of a sudden yesterday, after revealing this information on 60 Minutes, Facebook goes out, right? Facebook has an outage that causes them to lose a ton of money, which we're going to talk about later in this video. But they have this outage, right? And all hell breaks loose, right? Nobody can get on Facebook. Employees allegedly can't get inside the building. There's all types of crazy stuff going on. There was rumors that Facebook's master code was deleted, even though that's not true. And that it might not be able to come back to normal again. But things return back to normal. And today, she is testifying before Congress. Again, a mighty strange turn of events, in my opinion. It seems like Mark Zuckerberg has pissed somebody off, right? He pissed somebody off. Because essentially, this person, in my opinion, based off her testimony and things she's saying, there's no doubt in my mind that she is, in fact, a Democrat operative that is trying to push censorship against the right. And my hope is that these older Republicans who have no idea how social media actually works or how technology works, I hope they don't fall for the okie doke. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you guys what I mean. But first, I want you guys to watch some of her testimony in Congress.
In some cases, this dangerous online talk has led to actual violence that harms and even kills people. This is not simply a matter of certain social media users being angry or unstable, or about one side being radicalized against the other. It is about Facebook choosing to grow at all costs, becoming an almost $1 trillion company by buying its profits with our safety. During my time at Facebook, I came to realize a devastating truth. Almost no one outside of Facebook knows what happens inside of Facebook. The company intentionally hides vital information from the public, from the US government, and from governments around the world. The documents I have provided to Congress prove that Facebook has repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children, the efficacy of its artificial intelligence systems, and its role in spreading divisive and extreme messages.
Last thing I'll ask is, we've seen this same kind of content in the political world. You brought up other countries and what's been happening there. On 60 Minutes, you said that Facebook implemented safeguards to reduce misinformation ahead of the 2020 election, but turned off those safeguards right after the election. And you know that the insurrection occurred January 6th. Do you think that Facebook turned off the safeguards because they were costing the company money, because it was reducing profits?
Facebook has been emphasizing a false choice. They've said the safeguards that were in place before the election implicated free speech. The choices that were happening on the platform were really about how reactive and twitchy was the platform, right? Like how viral was the platform. And Facebook changed those safety defaults in the run-up to the election because they knew they were dangerous. And because they wanted that growth back, they wanted the acceleration of the platform back after the election, they returned to their original defaults. And the fact that they had to break the glass on January 6th and turn them back on, I think that's deeply problematic.
Agree. Thank you very much for your bravery in coming forward.
All right, guys. So, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind she is a Democrat operative, right? Her goal, literally, her stated goal is to have Congress regulate Facebook so that they censor more content. And the content that they want to censor is going to be content associated with conservative news and views and right-wing points of view, right? That's literally what they're trying to censor, okay? You see how when they ask questions, when they talk about where Facebook went wrong, it's always in the context of, well, Facebook didn't do enough before the election to censor misinformation. What does that mean? That means Facebook didn't do enough before the election to censor right-wing content, right? Even though they censored the Hunter Biden story, right? They did a ton of that. I also found it funny how they never asked, oh, why isn't Facebook censoring the Russia collusion misinformation? That conspiracy theory. Why was that not censored? Why did they not censor that before the 2016 election? Okay? They don't ever ask about those conspiracies and that misinformation. It's just right-wing conspiracies and misinformation only. And she tries to say, well, Facebook turned on their safety protocols before the election because they knew it was dangerous. No, that's not why they did it. They did it because they got pressure from the Democrats to censor so-called misinformation and any information really that would make Biden look bad, right? Again, like the Hunter Biden story. That's why they did it. They did it because of pressure from left-wing Democrats in Congress, right? In the media as well, too, pressuring them to do it, okay? Guys, we just had Biden come out here and say that Facebook was responsible for killing people, right? And this happens all the time with all social media platforms, guys. As you just heard, she said Facebook doesn't want to put on these safety measures, right? They want to maximize profit, like I've been telling you guys. A lot of people blame these social media companies, and I'm not defending Facebook. I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you like it is. But they don't want to censor people, right? They don't. They're being forced to do it. Because if they censor nobody and they just ran ads on as much content as they could, they make the maximum amount of profit. But that's not what's happening here. Look at YouTube. Look what happened right after the election. Right after the election, YouTube was like, hey, you know, you can say basically X, Y, and Z about the election, right? And they was cool with that. Then the left-wing media and the Democrat politicians came out and started boohooing, crying, saying, oh my God, YouTube's not doing enough to stop the spread of election misinformation. And then lo and behold, once I think it was the electoral college deadline came up or whatever, right, for them to certify the election, YouTube was like, we're not allowing that anymore, right? That's what happened. And then after January 6th, they ratcheted up even more. Look at YouTube when it came to the vaccine stuff. They had guidelines before. Now they've recently just ratcheted those things up, right? That's how this stuff works. Why? Because pressure from Democrats and the left-wing media that they're putting on these social media companies to censor, okay? That's what happens. What I don't want to see here is Republicans fall for the okie doke. And some of them are going to definitely fall for it. Because what's going on here, guys, is that debate is that, well, you know, this is not just about, you know, censoring right-wing content, right? Misinformation. It's also about the fact that Facebook is harmful towards teenage girls, right? And they are causing people to be anorexic and, you know, causing all types of harm to people, right? And the thing is that, yes, while this is true, right? This is the type of stuff, guys, that happens with any type of product. There are positive and negative externalities, just like smoking cigarettes, right? There are negative externalities to that. Does that mean that you ban it? No, you don't, right? Yes, there are regulations on cigarettes, but I don't think that Facebook is as harmful to users as cigarettes, right? To the individual. I wouldn't put Facebook on that level. But what I'm saying is that if we're going to regulate Facebook, then we need to regulate them to censor less, not more. And this type of argument, right, coming forward with, well, we need to regulate Facebook, not just because of misinformation in politics, but also because of the harm that it's doing to young girls and all that stuff. That's their guys to hook the Republicans. That's their guys to get the GOP on board with basically pushing Facebook to censor more content. That's what it's there for. That's what it's there for. It's the hook, right? It's a distraction. What they really want is to censor right-wing points of view. They could care less about what's going on with teenage girls and their body images. And again, I'm not saying that's not an issue. I consume a lot of red pill manosphere content. So yes, I'm fully aware of, you know, the effect that Instagram has on women in regards to their bodies, you know, these fake women and all this stuff. I'm wholly aware of that, right? I think it's terrible. That's why I don't spend that much time on Instagram. The only two social media platforms I spend a lot of time on is Twitter and YouTube, purely to get news. That's it. That's it for the most part, right? But what I'm saying is that essentially, again, this idea that Facebook is harming people like young girls and stuff like that, that is just there to get Republicans on board with. That's there to get conservatives on board with it. And what has to happen here, guys, is that there has to be a pushback from the right to say, you know what? Yes, this stuff is harmful, but we cannot continue to push Facebook to censor content because they're using that to censor conservative views, which ultimately is going to hurt them in the long run. It's going to hurt them in the long run. So with that being said, this Facebook whistleblower, it has been revealed that she actually is working with a former Obama operative, which essentially, in my opinion, makes her a Democrat operative. Let's read here. The Facebook whistleblower that was identified as Frances Haugen during a 60-minute segment is getting strategic guidance from a top Democrat operative with ties to Obama, according to Washington Free Beacon. Reports indicate that Haugen is working with Bill Burton and his consulting firm, Bryson Gillette. Burton worked under the Obama administration as deputy press secretary. The former Facebook employee's communication team is allegedly seeking guidance from Burton. Over the course of 10 months, the former Facebook employee leaked internal documents to Wall Street Journal, which has since been dubbed by the outlet as the Facebook Files. On Haugen and Burton working together, former director of National Republican Senatorial Committee Kevin Laughlin said the move seems well orchestrated. Quote, "It does have the appearance of being incredibly well orchestrated communications campaign," Laughlin said. Bill Burton has been an outspoken critic of Facebook and has likened them to tobacco companies, Washington Free Beacon reported. Burton said that tobacco companies knowingly sell deadly products and make them more addictive, so consumers will buy them, similar to Facebook. Yes, that is true. That is true. But again, how far do you want to take it? Right? If your solution is to regulate Facebook, right, and to push them to censor more, how far do you want to take that? And do you understand what that means for a lot of conservative viewpoints? That means those viewpoints get censored even more, which has an effect on the outcome of elections, right? It has an effect on the culture war and the battle of ideas in society. Yeah, this is not a route that people want to go down, I'm telling you. There needs to be less pressure for Facebook to censor. That is the solution, right? That's the solution. You deal with the negative externalities. That stuff can be dealt with internally, right? Families can deal with that type of stuff, right? Parents can deal with that stuff. But I don't want more censorship. All right, so it's been revealed here that she is working with Obama's former deputy press secretary, right? Which means that, yeah, she's a Democrat operative because all these people are interconnected. They're all interconnected, right? They all know each other. And again, there's no doubt in my mind that she is a plant. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt. Okay? This is what the Democrats want. This is their dream come true. This is their dream come true. And again, I just hope that Republicans don't fall for the okie doke, man. Please, right? Please don't fall for the okie doke. But anyways, like I told you guys, Facebook had an outage. And apparently this was very, very, very costly to the company, as Facebook lost up to $100 million in revenue amid sweeping outage. Let's read here. Facebook's sweeping global outage on Monday could have cost the company as much as $100 million in lost revenue, according to some estimates. While efforts to pin the figure on the debacle vary, the outage, which took down Facebook on Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger offline for more than 6 hours, almost certainly cost the social media platform tens of millions of dollars in earnings. One estimate from Fortune put the figure as high as $99.75 million. The outlet noted that Facebook reported $29.08 billion in revenue over a 91-day period for the second quarter of 2021. That works out to an average of $319.6 million per day, or $13.3 million per hour, according to Fortune. Though that figure doesn't account for peak traffic hours or outperforming days of the week. Based on Facebook and its priorities being down for 7.5 hours from 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time to 7 p.m., Fortune estimated the total to be almost $100 million. Another estimate from the data team at LoveTheSales.com, a London-based e-commerce platform, pinned the figure at about $93 million in lost revenue based on Facebook's projected revenue for the year. 2021 was projected to net the global tech giant more than $132 billion in ad revenue, but yesterday's outage was a blow to confidence in Facebook's system, and people and small businesses around the world that rely on the platform for communication and sales felt the impact, loved the sales.com CEO Stuart Klocher said. Facebook Chief Technology Officer Mike Scrofer offered sincere apologies to users Monday afternoon as the outreach stretched on for hours. Santosh Jahardin, Facebook Vice President of Infrastructure, apologized again in a blog post Monday evening, emphasizing that the outage was not a result of a hack or any kind of malicious activity. Our engineering teams have learned that configuration changes on the backbone routers that coordinate network traffic between our data centers caused issues that interrupted this communication, he wrote. This disruption to network traffic had a cascading effect on the way our data centers communicate, bringing our services to a halt. The outage helped wipe more than $50 billion off of Facebook's market cap, the stock's worst day of trading in almost a year. But shares of the company rebounded modestly on Tuesday, last seen trading 2% higher at $332.50 per share. All right, so Facebook lost some money, right? A whole lot of money relative to little people like me and you, but not that much in the overall grand scheme of things of how much money they make over a year. However, their market cap took quite a hit, losing, I think, about 5% yesterday, which was about, $50 billion, which, in my opinion, I think that this outage and what's going on in Congress is going to lead to some long-term issues with Facebook in regards to investor confidence in the company, right? And where it's going, because, investors, to a certain extent, they may stray away from a product like Facebook if they buy into the idea that Facebook is intentionally harming people, which is what this woman is trying to put out there, right? So essentially, there's going to be a lot of financial pressure and a lot of political pressure on Facebook to censor more. And that is what I'm afraid of. Now, guys, I understand. Would the world probably be a better place without Facebook? Who knows? Maybe, right? Could be. I think a lot of people think that social media has, a lot of ills, and I definitely agree with that. But at the same time, social media has also helped the conservative cause as well, right? I mean, Trump basically won in 2016 because of social media, because of Twitter, really. So again, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. And this is one of these cases, guys, where I would rather live with the negative externalities and just to have the free speech and less censorship rather than to go the alternative route, which is to have Facebook regulated by the government. Now, there is some things I think that, the government should consider, right? Some things I think are interesting ideas. For example, giving people more ownership over their data, right? Not just letting companies use our data and sell it without actually paying people for that data. I definitely think that that's something that can be looked at. But outside of that, again, I'm not really open to pressuring or regulating Facebook and social media companies to censor more, because that just means that right-wing and conservative points of view will be censored, right? Even more so than it already is. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.